Hello, everyone. I hope you're not upset if I'm a little bit early, but I couldn't hold my excitement to talk about you. I forgot about that. I couldn't hold my excitement to talk about Pinocchio. What can I say? I'm passionate about fairy tales, not necessarily as in the same way a child is passionate about them. My passion comes from understanding the philosophy and the messages that the fairy tales have to give to the audience, as well as how they evolved throughout time. Many fairy tales were a lot more dark and gruesome in the past, and Disney did a lot in order to sanitize them. Like, for example, did you know that in the original Little Mermaid story, the Little Mermaid ends up self-deleting herself because the prince rejects her? And Little Red Riding Hood gets raped by the big bad wolf. And there is no hunter to save the day. Now, those were the original stories. The more you go back in time and the more you find out how the original stories came to be, you realize that the world was a lot more darker and a lot more horrifying than it is today. Like most stories for children were very disturbing. Sleeping Beauty, for example, I think I pointed this out in the previous stream. She doesn't get woken up by the king's kiss. No, the king impregnates her, and it's the pain of child labor that wakes her up. So yes, my point is that it's very fascinating to look at the rich history and see where these stories are coming from, and they also served a very important role in the education of many children, because all of these stories, they had a message, they had a moral, which the new creators at Walt Disney completely failed to grasp. Again, the previous creators, the ones that made the animated Walt Disney movies, they managed to keep the message. So while the story was watered down for television, they did manage to keep the message. But clearly, the new writers, whether because they're incompetent and they don't understand what they're talking about, or whether because they want to push a different message, fail to understand what the stories are about and make complete asses of themselves. So, up until now, I have seen Aladdin, the remake. I have seen Beauty and the Beast. I have seen Mulan. And I have also seen Pinocchio. And out of all of them, I guess only Aladdin is the story which managed to maintain the original message, and it managed to keep the spirit of what Aladdin used to be. All the other ones failed, and after finishing with Pinocchio, I will go with them and I will explain to you why. Now, the first thing I want to address is the most dumb criticism that I can find on the internet. Like, if you say something like this, you have room temperature IQ, I have absolutely nothing else to discuss with you. And this is like, but it's made for children. It's made for kids. Why do you care? Right? Like, this is something, I think this is from people that never grow up. Like, when you're a child, you are concerned about growing up, so you want to stop doing children things. Like, you're not going to watch cartoons because those are for kids, right? You do now more mature things. You watch sports. You watch Twitch. You watch Pokemon. That's for a mature audience, right? But you don't read comic books anymore because that's for kids. But when you grow up, when you're a man like myself, you don't give a fuck. You do what you want to do. It's like God of War. We go where we please, boy. No excuses. That's pretty much what it means to be a man. Alright? You do whatever the fuck you want. If you're passionate about talking about Disney movies, you talk about Disney movies. Who the fuck is someone else telling you it's like, oh, you're not supposed to? Shut the fuck up. Don't play on your Nintendo. Bitch. But, the whole thing, it's like it's made for kids. Disney themselves want adults to watch it, right? If Disney didn't want adults to watch it, they wouldn't have made a remake of Pinocchio. They would have made something else. They would have made the Wooden Boy. They would have made Lies of P. They would have made anything else if they didn't care about getting the adult audience. They are banking on nostalgia in order to get people like moi to watch their shit. That's what they are doing. So no, it's not made for kids. Like, I haven't gone to a Disney movie and get an age verification, and if you're over the age of 9, you cannot see the movie. Like, that is not a thing. I'm so annoyed by the argument. It's made for kids. Shut the fuck up. And by the way, this also assumes that children do not deserve good entertainment. Something else that pisses me off. Like, if it's made for children, then I hope kids go play outside, because they deserve better than this. It's at the level where if the child misbehaves, you send him to watch Pinocchio. It's like a punishment. Like, little Billy, behave, or I make you watch Pinocchio. So, with that out of the way, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about the cinematography. Now, of course, it's modern day Disney, so the shock marketing needs to happen, where the casting choices might be a little bit strange for many people. And as you see in the thumbnail, the fairy happens to be black. Let me see if I can. Oh, here we go. Alright. Interesting. Peculiar casting choice, as they would say. Peculiar casting. The actress did nail the role. Okay, like the lines that she got and the way she behaved, she nailed the role. And I can even at this point say, you know what? Like, it's Disney. It's expected. It's 2022. Alright? Like, they have to race swap. They have to. Because that's how they prove they're not a racist company. You know, like, on one hand, they minimize black people on the posters on China. They thank the Chinese authorities for their treatment of Uyghurs. And in order to wash their sins, in order to be able to sleep at night, they also have to race swap something else. Okay, fine. I get it. I get. What I don't get is the whole immersion breaking with the very modern look. Like, the postmodernist fairy is what they're going with here. Right? Like, why does she have no hair? This is a specific casting choice. This is a decision by the company to make the fairy look, I don't even know if I should say androgynous, but rob her of traditional, conventional feminist beauty in a cartoon that is about tradition, because you want to get the adults who like Pinocchio to watch your cartoon again, right? And it's a world in the past. Like, you're banking on tradition. You're banking on, yeah. As someone in the chat said, it looks like the LGBT fairy. But no, like, she doesn't do anything LGBT. And by the way, like, again, this is like the bizarre thing about stereotypes, right? Like, I know gay people. Most of them do not dress like this. Like, they dress the same like you and I. They don't, right? Like they don't stand out with this bizarre choice of attire. And this is why I don't understand, right? Like, why the specific choice? Because this is what people mostly have a problem with. It's the vestimentation of the fair, the clothing. It stands out. It breaks immersion. Like, this is modern as fuck, and it's specific to America. Like, I in Romania cannot relate to this, all right? Like, I don't see people on the street wearing this type of look. Eastern Europe, in fact, right? And you want this to be international. Like, you want it to be inclusive. It's not inclusive. Like, this doesn't exist in Eastern Europe. At least, I haven't seen it. Maybe it exists, you know, like this clothing side. No, this is very American, and it's very modern. And you're putting this in a story that takes place, allegedly, in a medieval society. Why this particular choice in style? Why would you do this? I just don't understand. So this was one of the things that stand out. You know, like, this is why a lot of people have a problem with the poster. It's not just the race swap, but it's mostly the choice investmentation that belongs to America in modern year. Like I don't think even 20 years ago this was a clothing style that many people embraced in the U.S. So yeah, I mean, like to me, most women, in fact, all the women that I know, they consider the hair to be one of the most important things on their body. They take a lot of care to their hair to the point where there's a $1 trillion industry catering to women's hair accessories and maintenance and all of that. Why would they like? In fact, there was a scandal here. There was a fight between two ladies that happened in my country a couple of weeks ago, and one of the ladies shaved the hair of the other woman. So this was considered a crime. Like, she actually sued. She considered it to be an incredibly humiliating and dehumanizing experience. Now, if someone were to shave my hair, I wouldn't enjoy it, but I wouldn't call it just like women around the world care about their hair, so I don't understand why they remove the hair of the fairy. The feel for $5, this ensemble doesn't exist in rural California. Yeah, so by the way, like, this is something else that's interesting. When someone says it's made for kids, why do you care? Imagine that you live in a city, like in a very modern city. You live in California. And I say, like, I want to show you something beautiful. And I take you to a rundown village, like a very backwater village. And you're like, V, why do you like this place? What's so special? And I would tell you, well, this is where I grew up. Now, for you, it might not be interesting at all. I mean, it's just a village. There's no shopping mall. There's no fun activities to do. But for me, it's very important because I grew up there, right? So that's why I return to it. It's the same with Pinocchio. Like, if you're a person that didn't grew up with Disney animation, and for you it's just a child story, like, okay, fine, I understand. Like, I get it, like, you're not interested because reasons, like, fine. But I care because I grew up with it. It's called passion. Now, I don't know why it's called, like, what do they call these? Live action? It's 90% CGI. Like, the only CGI project that the only other movie that Disney invested more CGI in than this is Lion King. Like, this is overwhelmingly CGI. And by the way, the only good part of this thing, I would say, is the first 30 minutes where Tom Hanks pretty much carries the entire thing. Is it Tom Hanks? I think it's Tom Hanks. I hope I don't get the name wrong. He's a famous actor. Right? Like, he is the one that carries this shit. And it, like, the first, like, when I was watching it in the beginning, I was like, oh my god, this might actually be good. But now let's talk about what is bad, right? Like, why do I say that they completely missed the point of the story? So in the original, Pinocchio meets Honest John, and Honest John tries to get Pinocchio to skip school. And Pinocchio skips school, and after that, only bad things happen. So the moral of the story, right, because this is why children were told stories, was to get a message. The message was clear: stay in fucking school. That was literally the message of the story. Stay in school, and I guess, like, focus on things that are good for you. And the things that are good for you can look bad, but once you grow up, you understand why they were good. So in other words, like, staying in school. Staying in school is very difficult, right? Like, you have to wake up on time, you need to have a schedule, do your homework, like it's a pain. But when you grow up, you realize that people who didn't stay in school have fewer opportunities than the ones that went, right? So that is the message of Pinocchio, I would say. Like, when you're a kid, you should do the things that the adults tell you to do. That is the message, right? So go to school. Do not prioritize. We're going to get to Pleasure Island in a bit. But basically, like, listen to your adults, right? Like, be a good kid. And here we notice that Pinocchio is actually kicked out of school. He is kicked out of school because he is not a real boy. Right? So the message now is that society, right, like the teacher and what, so society kicking Pinocchio out is responsible for all the hardship that Pinocchio will endure throughout the adventure. So it's a completely different message. The message isn't listen to adults, like do the things that are hard because they're going to be worth it. The message is society has to change. Society has to embrace Pinocchio for being a doll. Society is bigoted for kicking Pinocchio out of school for being a puppet. Right? Like, before the message was, you need to have virtue and you're going to get delayed gratification. Now it's like, no, society is wrong and evil for preventing Pinocchio having delayed gratification. So because of this, the entire story now doesn't make that much sense. I mean, it does make sense in the context that I explained, which is that because society mistreated Pinocchio, his life is now ruined, right? Like he gets into all of these dangerous situations, which could have been avoided if society embraced him. Thank you, Ben Schneitz, for the $5. Right. So yes, it's literally a story about oppression. Right? Like, this is what Disney likes to talk about nonstop in all their fucking stories. Someone is getting oppressed. And it's never because of their choices, right? So the choices are completely robbed from Pinocchio. Because initially, he had the choice to go to school, or he had the choice to skip school and go with Honest John in order to get pleasure. So Pinocchio chose to go with Honest John. He made the wrong choice. And because he made the wrong choice, he had repercussions. Here, Pinocchio is robbed of the choice. He cannot go to school. As such, the only choice left is to go with Honest John. So society is responsible for Pinocchio's future. He doesn't have a choice. He's like a leaf in the wind. He just goes with the flow. And by the way, like speaking of Honest John, like Disney doing this whole realistic fox head animation looks weird as fuck. I pointed this out that many things that work in anime translate very poorly in live action adaptation. However, it's the same with Disney pictures, right? Like just because this looks great in the animated version, it looks like shit here. Like, it looks really bad. Thank you for the €5, Rozalhim. Maybe we should demand Disney make the original lore accurate fairy tales. Rated mature. Oh my fucking god. Dude, you would not be able to publish those. No, seriously, like, Disney, with all the money and influence, would get canceled. Like, you would not make, like Hansel and Gretel. Holy shit. No, you just can't. Not to mention, like, many people wouldn't understand them. Again, like the Sleeping Beauty, right? Like you have a woman sleeping, and then a king comes up to her tower, has sex with her while she's asleep, and then she wakes up through the pain of the birth. Like that that's not something that would fly. And by the way, like that would also be a bad message. Like back then, people believed in the monarchy, like the right of kings. So, like. People looking at it through a modern lens, they view as a man pushing himself on a woman. But in ancient time, not in ancient time, in medieval time, I mean, the king taking interest in a woman was a great honor for that woman. Like, you can't translate the message. Like, there is no way. The exact way that the people of that time would have perceived the story is completely different to the way we would perceive now. So, right. So that's the way they changed this particular message. I do want to point out though that one of the changes that I like is the monster. So initially, Pinocchio gets swallowed by a whale, as you guys know. But now the whale is a sea monster. And you know what? It actually makes more sense. Like, I am happy with this change. Simply because, many people know how a whale works now. Like, even kids that are the age of 7, some of them have smartphones and understand that It's impossible for a whale to swallow a human. This actually looks good, I don't mind the change, but I want to mention that it is changed nevertheless, right? Like, it's a difference from the original. Now you have a sea monster, basically, right? So, the other change, and this is the major one, okay? Like, this is the one that really annoys me. And this one, to me, shows that the writers just don't have talent. Like, it's not about them trying to push a message onto the masses, but it's that they just don't understand the story they're dealing with. Like, it makes no fucking sense, lore-wise or story-wise. Like, the children watching, okay, if I was say, the thing is, like, they constantly underestimate how smart children are. Like, at the age of 7, if I was to watch this, it would make no sense to me. Like, I would say, hey, I don't get why this is the way it is. So, the whole thing with the original is that Pinocchio, because he skipped school, if I remember correctly, Honest John realized that he is a naughty boy, and because of that, he got enticed into visiting Pleasure Island, right? But here, Pinocchio is just pulled up from the street, like, for no reason at all. So basically, before, Pleasure Island was something catering to kids that misbehave. Like, it was a place for naughty children to go to. Now, it seems like any kid can get kidnapped. Like, literally, he gets kidnapped. In the first one, he went there out of his own volition. So, he wanted to go to Pleasure Island. Now, he gets kind of kidnapped. And he's just, again, like, he's a leaf in the wind. Like, the agency of Pinocchio is completely robbed in this. Like, he doesn't make almost any choices throughout the entire movie. It's other people dragging him on the adventure. He doesn't get to decide almost anything. And this is, like, the main problem with it. So, in Pleasure Island, like, the whole concept of the original story is that children go there, and it's a wonderful paradise for delinquents. Like, children can smoke, they can drink alcohol, they can trash the place, they can do whatever they want. And as they're misbehaving, they turn into donkeys. So the idea is, like, if you behave like an animal, you turn into an animal. That was the original plot device, right? So you go into this place, which is a cursed island, and if you behave like a jackass, you turn into a jackass. Like, you behave like an animal, you refuse society, you refuse the rules of society, and you get to do whatever you want to do, so you turn into an animal. That was, like, the moral of the story. And obviously, in the first Disney movie, it's very shocking. It's like, one of the best Disney villains is the caretaker. But yeah, it's a socialist hell. Like, literally, it's not a socialist hell. It's the utopia that progressives want. It's like, the liberation of children, where they can do literally like, they can behave exactly however they want, right? Like, this is pretty bad. So I knew that they're going to fuck with Pleasure Island. Like, there is no way they would allow Pleasure Island to remain the way it's in the original. So, in the original, first of all, it was only certain boys that got an invitation to it. And secondly, you had to, like, once you got into Pleasure Island, you had to actually be a jackass. Like, you have to behave like an animal in order to turn into a donkey. So, when children there drank beer, when they smoked, when they trashed the place, that's when the transformation happened. Like, it's implied that if a good child would go to Pleasure Island, and he would reject alcohol, if he would reject to smoke, if he would reject all of these things, and he would behave, he wouldn't turn into a donkey. Like, that's what's implied, right? Like, if you embrace being a disciplined and good member of society, like, you're not going to turn into an animal. Here, Pinocchio is bewildered about what's happening around him. Like, he's looking, like, he has, like, this root beer in his hand, but he doesn't partake into it. Like, he's just looking around confused. And the transformation happens regardless. And I'm like, okay, so what's the message then? Like, you're just having a guy abducting kids from the street, taking them to this pleasure island where they turn into donkeys regardless. Like, there is absolutely no requirement for, like, at this point, again, it's the concept of agency is constantly robbed from the main character. Like, there is no right choice or wrong choice. Like, society is responsible for everything that's happening to Pinocchio. Right? Like, he gets kicked out of school. Society doesn't respect his identification. Like, he identifies as a real boy, but society rejects that. And because of that, he gets kidnapped and taken to this place where he's got no choice but to transform. There's nothing that he could have done. Right? It's just like completely missing the message of the story. Like, what is the message that you send to children? Well, the message is society is shit and you have to change it. That's the message that they're giving now. Yeah, the message is vote Democrat. That's like get the Democrats to change society so that they can get Pinocchio into school. So that he doesn't have to deal with the pleasure island. The pros are bent to others' wills. Oh. Okay, so now that we talked about Pinocchio being robbed of choice, we can talk about the ending. So the ending see if I can find here we go. The ending is left ambiguous. So, in the beginning, the fairy godmother tells Pinocchio what he needs to do in order to become a boy. But in the end, even after doing everything that the fairy godmother asked him to, the movie doesn't explicitly show the transformation into a boy. So what happens is that he walks away with Geppetto. He walks away with Tom Hanks towards the light at the end of the tunnel. And we can see that his leg kind of becomes of that of a boy. But then the fucking cricket comes up. And the cricket says to the audience that the ending is open to interpretation. Like, the cricket says that it doesn't matter if he became a boy or not. What matters is what's inside him. And I'm like, okay, but like a 9-year-old child, like you're asking a 9-year-old child to think that a wooden doll is actually a human being. Like, do you not see a problem with that? Like, you're asking the child to lie to himself. It's like, he is a wooden abomination. Okay? Like, he is a pagan sculpture did by the dark fantasies of Tom Hanks. He is not a boy. He is not Jesus fucking Christ, born out of the sinless Tom Hanks. Like, he would be the Immaculate Conception, I guess. Because he has no mother. He did not come from a birth canal. Like, he is not a boy. Right? Like, this is injecting modern politics into places where they don't belong. Yeah, exactly. Why do you need to tell the audience that the story is open to interpretation? Why can't you just have Pinocchio turn into a boy like in the original story? Oh, one leg of him is though. Yeah, like I guess like one leg of him is now a boy. Like maybe he's like half boy or some shit. But like, okay, like Pinocchio is not the orc from Warhammer 40k. Like, just because he believes he is a boy doesn't change the reality. Like, he cannot change objective reality. Like, he is a wooden puppet. He doesn't require nourishment. He can't go to school. Now, of course, you can create an authoritative system that cracks down on people and does thought policing, and anyone that doesn't acknowledge that Pinocchio is a real boy gets fired or ostracized from the village. We can arrange that. Like, we can create an oppressive system where every person on the planet gets oppressed Unless they claim that, yeah, no, Pinocchio, definitely a boy. Definitely a boy. Please don't fire me. Please don't get me fired. Yes, you can do that, but in the story, all right, the fairy godmother lied. And by the way, I just want to point out why this doesn't work, all right? Like, I want to point out why this doesn't work. Like, if Pinocchio was a boy just by willing it so, what's the point of the adventure? You just erased the whole movie. Like, there was no point for an adventure at all. If he can just say, oh, well, then in that case, well, what if he says he's a cat? You know, he doesn't want to go to school. He identifies as a cat so that he doesn't, like, what? Whatever. This is what happens when you push the message into... Like, look, if you want to push the message, make a story where the message makes sense. Like, you'd have to create a new story where it would be more sensible and make sense. Here it doesn't make sense. It's not even like, because I get it, like they're talking about the gender, right? But it's not even about the gender. Like, you want to turn a piece of wood into a human being. Like, that's completely different. Not to mention, like, modern progressive activists, they get upset if someone... like a white person claims that they're Korean. Like, that actually happened. There's a famous singer, I believe. He did facial cosmetic surgery in order to change his facial makeup to look more Asian. And he claims now he's Korean. And that upset people like Hassan Piker. Like, Hassan Piker was very livid about that claim. Well, I guess, you know, he needs to see Pinocchio and get the message from Pinocchio. Anyway, so... That's the thing with Disney. Now, this is not the first time where Disney completely misses the point of the stories that they're trying to remake. This one, perfect example. Funnily enough, they got the casting right with this. Like, every single person of the cast fits the, you know, looks the part. I just... Maybe they can hire the people who did the casting for Mulan to do other Disney projects, is all I'm saying. Like, I don't know why they did it, though. Like for once, Disney actually managed to get all of the casting choices properly. Congratulations for that. You have my respect. The other problem is, though... the problem, sorry, is, though, that they didn't understand what the movie is about, and big flop in China. Like, for some reason, they didn't call the Chinese racist or sexist or whatever. You know, like the classic Disney marketing trope. For some reason, they show respect to China. They even thank the authorities that handled the Uyghur camps there. Like, it was very interesting. But... And Mulan has hair on her head, right? Like, all of a sudden, she is dressed accurately as well. Like, beautiful cinematography. The problem with Mulan, right? Like, Mulan is a story about family. She loves her father very much. And when her father is called to battle, she takes the role of a man. And then she has to struggle incredibly hard in order to fill those shoes. In Disney Mulan, like, she actually hates the tradition. She hates the fact that she has to get married. She constantly talks back to her father. And when she finally gets into the military, she is hyper competent. Right? Like, there is no more struggle. There is no more... No, like, she can take down 10 other guys with incredible ease. And then you notice that in the opposing force, there is another woman which is a powerful witch. To which point you wonder, like, why don't women go to battle? In this universe, like, if you have a universe, like, think about it, right? Like, you have a universe where a woman can take down 10 men, and some women even have the ability to cast magic. It's not really explained why, but let's go with it. Why don't the women go to war and the men stay at home with the children? Because that would make fucking sense. Like, seriously, like, if a woman could be that powerful, if one woman could just take down 10 other men by herself, why are men on the battlefield? Like, you're wasting supplies. You're wasting the supply chains by doing so. Like, men should be the ones dealing with the supply and healing the wounded women in the battlefield. Like, that's how the universe would react if what you're displaying on the picture is accurate. And this is why the people in China didn't like it either, because it makes no fucking sense. Right? Like in the original Mulan, she was just another soldier with a bow and arrow. Like she was just there in the background, but like she never managed to 1v1 the Hun. You know, like she uses her wit in order to figure out ways to gain an advantage on the battlefield. But at no point is she like capable of taking down 10 other armed soldiers. Like she needs the help of her team. You know, it's more like real life. I mean, in real life, you don't really have a person that manages to just mow down enemies like they're fucking Rambo. So, this is another story that Disney didn't understand. They also didn't understand Beauty and the Beast. So let me go to Beauty and the Beast. So, Gaston, Beauty and the Beast. In the original, Gaston is a character which could have been easily a hero in any other story. Right? Like, he is handsome, he is capable, he is a good leader. When he finds out about the Beast, he is the first one to march. Like, he's not a coward, right? Like, he goes to that fucking abomination of a castle by himself, leading the villagers. And if you think about it, like, from his point of view, he may actually be right. I mean, what does he know, right? Like, we, the audience, we know more than what Gaston does. But like, from the point of the mind of Gaston, you have this lady which comes up and claims that her father was abducted by a monster. And obviously, you know, he finds that... No, sorry, my bad. He's got this claim that the woman he likes has been abducted by a monster. And he laughs it off, right? Like, he doesn't believe it. But then later on, the woman comes up and she shows a magical mirror. Like, she shows magic things. It's like, oh, look, there's this monster in a fucking castle, right? Now, he knew that she was kidnapped and abducted. You're telling him magic is real. Obviously, he can come to the conclusion that she was brainwashed. Like, the Beast did magical spells on her to make her, you know, her lover or whatever. Like, from his point of view, it's not unreasonable to believe that he genuinely believes that the Beast is evil. Now, of course, you can make the argument that, you know, he's not educated because he doesn't read books. But, like, why would he need to? I mean, he's not going to go to a university. He's in a village, right? Like, as long as he's a good hunter and as long as he knows how to plow the field, he's going to fit his role into society. Like, he doesn't need to study gender studies and then work where? Who's going to hire him with a gender studies degree? Like, it's a village. So, he doesn't read books. Okay. And I guess, like, the other thing you can say is that he was hitting on Belle. Alright, he was trying to court her, but at no point in the original does he force himself on her. Right? Like, he is... I guess he's obnoxious, and he is insistent. But, like, that's not enough to make him a villain. Now, let's talk about the Disney adaptation. So, in Disney, well, now he's a soldier, and he actually tries to murder Belle's father. And there are a couple of scenes where he does try to force himself on Belle. Well, you completely destroyed the message of the story. Like the whole thing, the whole analysis of the story is that Gaston could have been a hero in any other story. In any other place, he could have been a hero. But now you're making him into a monster, a murderer, potential rapist. Like, why would you have to do that? Oh, yes, because the message is toxic masculinity. I see. So, like, let's remove all of the complex issues that could get kids to think about. Let's remove all of those. And instead, like, let's just say, I'm like, the message blunt. It's about toxic masculinity, goddammit. Like, look, he made a rape joke and therefore he became a rapist. That's Walt Disney bullshit. Hello, Marek. Kano, thank you for the $5. By the way, the original 1998 Mulan was hated by the Chinese too because it stereotyped the Chinese and didn't respect the source material as well. Yeah, but the thing is, like, the original, they didn't try to cater to China. I mean, they just wanted to make a good story, and I think they succeeded. The new one, they actively tried to cater to China. I mean, the marketing in China was intense. They thanked the Chinese authority, the casting. They made absolutely sure that they're not going to offend the Chinese with the classic Disney casting. So no, like that's the difference. Like you know, in the beginning they were just trying to make a good story, and now they definitely did their best in order to cater as much as humanly possible. And of course, the catering failed because they don't have talented writers. And also, like, stereotyping, like stereotyping has a point. Sorry, has a place in storytelling. I mean, let's say I want to have a villain, all right? The drunk alcoholic father. Like, all I need to do is to show the guy walking in with the bottle. He curses, throws the bottle towards the kid, and then goes to sleep. All of a sudden, it's established that he's a villain. Like, he is the drunk alcoholic, and I do that within just 20 seconds. Why? Because of the stereotype that people have. Like, they know the stereotype. You do that, 20 seconds, wham, bam, it's done. Now, imagine I would have to actually create a scene where other people just have a conversation about, oh yeah, like, this guy is a drunk alcoholic. Like, yesterday he blah, 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 blah. It takes a lot more time to explain. And almost like all stereotypes can be used like this. They're a dynamic in which you can establish things rather quickly. Belle was a puppet of the beast. A lot of people keep saying, oh, well, like Belle had Stockholm syndrome. And again, it's the modern lens that people are looking through. The man was royalty. The man was an aristocrat. He was the king of the castle. You have a peasant lady and you have the king of the castle. I mean, it's impossible to explain how people would have thought back then. Like, that's an offer you can't refuse. Like, even if let's say, if I was a medieval peasant and there's like this 75-year-old aristocrat lady which takes an interest in me, I would have probably not refused. It was a life-changing thing. Like, it's something that there is no comparison to that in the modern age. I mean, imagine you're living in a hovel, right? And all of a sudden there's the CEO of Facebook and he takes you to his manor, and there's like this massive swimming pool, and the helicopter takes you to Davos, and you're able to eat things that you've never ate in your life. Like, that is pretty much how Belle was treated. Take into account that in medieval time, a book, someone did an accurate calculation to figure out how much a book would have costed, and apparently one book was as expensive as a Ferrari now. Why? Because making books back then was incredibly difficult and resource consuming. I understand you needed an entire herd of sheep to make the vellum for the pages of a thick book. And then you also needed the ink. And then you needed someone that was proficient in writing. So a library back then was just like mind-blowing for a peasant. Like, the entire basket of human knowledge was there. And not only that, it's like, putting that aside, okay? Like, let's forget all of that. The whole thing with Beauty and the Beast is that she connected to his suffering. Like, she understood where he was coming from, and it was like a trying to fix him type of thing, right? Like, that's the way the story can be interpreted. Like, originally, the Beast did have a right to imprison the father. He was trespassing. He was the lord of the land. So he had the right to put the father into dungeon. He committed the crime. Then he saves Belle, right? Like, you need to like it's not that he held her captive. Like, He saved her from the wolves, if I remember correctly. And then she is the one that offered to take her father's place. Right? Like, her father committed a crime. According to the land, he was arrested. And she went, it's kind of like a woman going into a prison and saying, hey, can you free my father? I will take his place, right? Like, normally the beast should have said, no, fuck off. But still, right? Like, she managed to take his place. And then the beast behaved in a manner that she fell in love with him. It's more complex, you know, like, I really hated how social justice activists, like, they look at these ancient stories with the lens of the present, and then they use their ideology to oversimplify the story. And they make it, oh yeah, well, clearly a case of rape. Stockholm Syndrome. Oh. And by the way, someone actually looked at the timetable of when the story takes place, and they concluded that this is somewhere during the French Revolution, and Belle should have chosen Gaston, because we know what happened to the aristocracy during the French Revolution. To be fair, Gaston in the original movie did threaten to commit Belle's father if she didn't marry him. Outright villainous behavior. Yeah, that is true. But granted, Belle's father, like from what Gaston knew, Belle's father could have been insane. Like, he was talking about beasts and magic and shit. But yes, I do agree. He was a villain, but he wasn't like a murdering psychopath, like and a rapist. Like they tried to persuade, like they tried to change him in the new Disney movie. Have you seen anything out of Jordan Peterson yet about the new Pinocchio movie? I'm sure he has a lot to say about archetypes on this. No, I have not. I didn't. Look, I already suffered enough, okay? Like, today I had... Do you know how long this shit is? I mean, they made Pinocchio unreasonably long for some goddamn reason. I think, like, the fairy godmother takes around 20, maybe 30 seconds in the original. And now they just dragged it on and on and on. And by the way, speaking of the fairy godmother, like, this is what I've been saying. They could have made her look like this. Right? Like, they could, but again, like, this would have been against the message. I mean, this would have been so fucking cool. Look, hands down, if this was the fairy godmother in Pinocchio, I am willing to bet no one would have fucking complained. Like, if she was like this, interesting, you know, especially if you do this type of hair where there's like some, she's got like this mystical look, right? Like where she's very alluring and mysterious. I guarantee to you, people would have loved it. But we don't get that. Oh, we got Aiden Paladin. Yeah, subverting the expectations, of course. Her hair is still wrong. Shut up. Actually looks good. We got the Monarchy gang, yeah. I don't care. I don't care, Spoon. It looked good. They could have done it, but instead they chose to go with her being bald. For no reason whatsoever. And again, it's like, I've been thinking about this yesterday. And I realized that for some reason, except very few shows, they actively refuse to cast beautiful women into media anymore. And this is very obvious in video games, because in video games you have the motion capture actress, and most of the time the mocap actress, often the mocap actress looks really sexy in real life. But in the game, they go out of their way in order to remove all the sexy features, right? So they can make the character less feminine. But with the actresses, like, I know certain actresses that look gorgeous, right? You see them when they walk the red carpet, and you see them how they present themselves, and they look absolutely stunning. But the makeup team actually tries to take away the feminine beauty when they appear on the screen. There's another controversy regarding this. With Iris from The Flash. Let me see if I can find the. Okay, I can't find the actual picture, but I'll tell you the controversy, and you're going to see what I mean. So the actress Iris West, she plays the actress who plays Iris West in The Flash. She posted a picture on her Instagram, I believe it was like 2 years ago, and she basically had a shirt that didn't cover her belly button. Man, I wish I can find it. Let me see, what is the name of the actress? Because I want you guys to see just how ridiculous it is. No, not Ezra Miller. It's the other Flash. Okay, fuck it. I can't find it right now. Especially with Google modifying its search engine. It's next to impossible. But, okay. I'll tell you the controversy. Just take my word for it. So, the actress, she posted a picture on her Instagram. And it was basically... I would still call it a decent shirt. I mean, look, if she walked with that particular attire to a family gathering with her father there, the father wouldn't have complained. Like, it was still a decent shirt. It exposed basically, like, it covered all the way up to here. You know, like, her belly was exposed. And people, you know, they were like, oh my god, you're so gorgeous, you're so beautiful. And someone asked, are you going to appear on The Flash with that shirt? And she responds, LOL, no, the producers would never allow me to wear something like this anymore. Right? Anymore. Because it's very interesting. In the first seasons of The Flash, she even appeared in bathing suits. Right? Like, that was no problem. But now, the showrunners conscientiously refuse to allow her to express any sort of sexuality anymore. Why? Because she's a beautiful woman. So they don't want beauty on the screen. That's the only explanation that I have. And I was thinking about this really hard. Is there a beautiful, you know, is there an American TV show that has beautiful women in it? And, you know, the last one that I could think about is Cobra Kai. The 100, right? But that's old, it's gone, right? Like the 100, it had Olivia, and it also had forgot her name, the main actress. Hold on, Clark. Yeah, Clark. It had. So the 100 is probably like the last TV show that I remember which actually had beautiful people in it. So the 100, and then you have Cobra Kai. But other than that, I can't think of anyone that has, you know, like my wife, she watches Netflix, and she keeps wondering, like, why are these casting choices? Why did they go out of their way to find out? And even when they do, like, even when they do have beautiful actresses, they do their best to have, like, the makeup department to cover up all their beauty. I mean, perfect example, right? Look at Wheel in Time on Netflix. Like, all the witches, all the women... I believe they're like in their 39 to 45 years of age, right? And all the men, they're buffed, like the men look good, you know, they look like Egyptian gods there, like they work out, the men look really great. But the women, they look below average, and you know, it breaks immersion, because you're wondering, like, why would a man who looks like that, which if he chooses could go out with the 18-year-old supermodel, for some reason, he stands with that witch, and he's in love and infatuated with her. It makes no sense. It breaks immersion. It's the same with He-Man, right? You look at He-Man and you look at Tila. Let me see if I can find the picture of Tila. Right, here we go. Like, this is Tila from He-Man. Someone photoshopped the hair away and removed the makeup. And this is Tila, right? So the question is, like, why is He-Man interested in her? I mean, besides the fact. Hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit, just so we can explore a little bit. Let me see if I can find the picture with He-Man and Teela, but unfortunately, look like if in the pictures He-Man wants nothing with her. All right, so you got He-Man over here. And let's go through the accomplishments, right? His royalty, like he's a prince, incredibly rich and wealthy, courageous, brave, willing to put his life on the line for the ones he loves, very competent, skilled, charismatic. He can literally have any woman he wants. Like, he could probably even have married women in the kingdom. Like, they would divorce right away just to be with him. Like that. Like, look, there's nothing more you want. Like, he's young. Like, I can't think of a single negative attribute that He-Man has. Like, seriously. He's a catch, as they would say. And on the other opposite end of the spectrum, you have Teela here. Which, throughout the show, like, you can say, okay, let's put her looks aside, okay? Because looks don't matter. Like, it's not about the looks, it's what's inside. She's incredibly vain. She is arrogant. She refuses help from others. She, is insufferable. Like, when she finally meets He-Man, she's like, oh, so you sacrificed yourself to save the whole universe, right? But why did you think about me? What about me? Why didn't you tell me your secret? Why, blah, blah, blah. She goes to his parents, who just found out that their son is dead. And she's like, yeah, but like, what about my grief? What about my pain? She's insufferable. She's obnoxious. There is no fucking way. There is no way in hell that someone like He-Man would be with her. None whatsoever. Like, there is no explanation. What does he see in her? What are the qualities? What are the attributes that he sees in her? Oh yeah, she's hyper aggressive and all of that. Like, I genuinely like don't understand. Like, I wouldn't want her as a friend. I wouldn't want to be around such a person. I'll be like, okay, well, you do you. Like, I'll be over here. Can you be over there? Like, if you want to be over here, that's fine. I'll be over there. Just like, let's stay out of each other's way. Like, we have clashing personalities. Please leave me alone. Prince Harry syndrome. Even if you change her, why? Like, you can get, like if you, look, you want to change someone when you see something that you like in them, right? Like, for example, 50 Shades of Grey. Well, he's wealthy, he's rich, but he's also a kind person deep inside, beneath the degeneracy and the perversions. He may be a nice person. With Teela, there's nothing underneath the cold, hard surface. There is just more cold, hard surface. There is nothing there. I would really like someone to explain to me what's appealing in the character of Teela. Like, tell me just one thing that she does, which is appealing. And it's like, yes, I would like a person like that in my life. Just one thing. That's all I want. She has a Tumblr account. Oof. I don't know, man. It's just... The writers of these shows, they don't know how to human. Like, there is no way in hell someone like Adam would be with someone like Teela in real life. They could have made her rich. They could have made her a sorceress. And then you can say, well, He-Man wants to learn magic and he's attracted to that. But at this point, I don't even know what they have in common. And the only thing they have in common is that they know how to fight. So they're going out and they're beating up bad guys. But even then, even with that, like, okay, you're saying that that's the point. There's other women that fight in that universe. She's not the only one. Like, other women are capable fighters as well. There's no reason for He-Man to be with her. The message is that it's the new hot. Yeah, but it's not, is it? It's not. Like, she, at least give her a decent personality. Like give her something that the audience likes. There's nothing likable about her character. Nothing at all. So that's what I think. And they're wondering, why do people watch anime? I mean, even this character, right? Like, even this character from the anime, which is arguably one of the worst characters in fiction. So for those of you, I mean, I'm pretty sure all of you know, right? Like, this is from Legacy of the Shield Hero, and she is the main antagonist in the first part. She accuses the hero of rape in order to get his stuff, right? Like, she steals his armor, steals everything. When he accuses her of theft, she accuses him of rape. He gets in trouble with everyone from that kingdom. She tries to assassinate her sister in order to become the queen. She constantly uses men in order to further her agenda by acting all, by acting like a victim. Like, she's a lot of negative stereotypes. But at least even her, like, you could see why someone would like her. Like, even after she's revealed to have all of these negative characteristics and all of these negative flaws, there is still the hero that manages to sit next to her. Why? Because she's gorgeous as fuck. That's why. Like, it's like the looks are enough to get men to lose all sense of reason. And even when the bow hero, I believe, like the one that started with her, even after he finds out everything there is to know about her, and even when he knows what she did, he still sits with her. Why? Because she is attractive. And what does this mean? This means relatability. All of us know at least one guy in our life who ends up with a girl that takes advantage of him and is a bad influence, and everyone tells him that. Like, his mom tells him that, his sister tells him that, his best friend tells him that, everyone tells him. It's like, look, she's an evil person, like, she's taking advantage of it, and he refuses to fucking listen. And we know that. That's why it's a great anime, because it's relatability, right? Like, you relate to that. That actually makes sense from a storytelling point of view. That is actually something which you can say, oh yeah, like that. Yeah. No, I completely get it. Then there's this chick. Which competes with the previous character when it comes to evilness. And again, most people understand, like, they get it. It's like, all right, well, I can see why the main character I can see why the main character is agreeing with her. There are two main reasons why the main character puts up with her. Tanya the Evil isn't a romance story. Like, there's nothing appealing about that. Yeah, and by the way, I don't even know why it's called Tanya the Evil. I think the original anime is called something like Memoirs of a Little Girl or something like that. Tanya the Evil is basically a story which tries to conclude that a hero from one culture can be a monster to another. So while Tanya the Evil is a hero for the Empire, She is obviously one of the worst things imaginable for the enemy. And she is also inspired by the stories of Red Baron. So when you watch Tanya the Evil, you're actually watching Red Baron the anime. Um, but it's really interesting. Again, there's nothing evil about her. I do think that the reason she is called Tanya the Evil is because the story is about her fighting on the German side during World War One. And because of that, the American sensibilities would have been like, oh, well, German. So they had to come up with the title Tanya the Evil in order to keep the social justice activists silent, even though it's World War One. Aqua from the what is it called, the anime Konosuba, I believe, right? Aqua isn't necessarily evil. I think she's just suffering from the tism. Like, I generally don't think that Aqua knows that she is doing bad things. So for those of you who don't know, this is another character. Let me see if I can. Well, she's actually very, very famous. Like, I should make another video talking about anime philosophies and trope. Okay, I managed to. Right, so this is Aqua from Konosuba, and she is initially a goddess, which is in charge of deciding where souls get to go after they die. And the main character, he tries risking his life in order to save someone. The main character is a shut-in. He doesn't go outside his room much. He doesn't interact with people. And as he's traveling, he manages to see someone almost getting hit by a car. So he tries to rush in and save that person and dies. So they meet Aqua in the afterlife, and she's the goddess and tells him, like, no, you didn't even manage to save that person. You just tripped and the car ran over you, and it was an embarrassment. And she basically starts laughing and mocking at the person, right? So then she offers the person a different chance. He can either go into the afterlife or go into another world and try to save that kingdom from the demon entity that's threatening it. And he's offered to take anything he wants with him in order to help him on his quest. And she seems like very detached of the struggle that the main character is going through. Like, she's almost mocking him. She's ridiculing him. So in a way to spite her, the main character chooses her as the thing he wants to take in the other world. So she's now dragged into the other world with him. But I don't think she's evil. She's just retarded. But she's not evil. Like, she's not mean-spirited. Like, this character suffers from retardation. But that's not an evil person. Can we get a video with me sleep? No. Kazuma is a Chad. Oh, I don't think so. I never talk about Overlord. Oh, if you want me, I can talk about Overlord as well. Yeah, basically, you can make the argument that Aqua, despite being a goddess, the negative characteristic of her was that she was very detached from the world that she was supposed to be guarding. Like, she was a goddess, but she just didn't care about the world that she was supposed to protect. And for her, it was like, I guess it's kind of like being a player in a video game, but the video game is not just a game, it's actually reality. Like, there's actually people there. And she was just like the same level of detachment. I don't necessarily think that's evil. I think that due to the circumstance, like due to the fact that she was a goddess and she was above it all, she couldn't get empathy for the people that she was supposed to protect. But you can see throughout the adventure that she does start to care. Like, she genuinely starts to develop feelings for other people. So I wouldn't say that she's evil. No, she's just dumb. That's the only way I would be. And yeah, you know, she's still a goddess, but honestly, like, given her ability, she's incredibly nerfed for a goddess. Aqua is also max level, has max stats except intelligence, which is below average. Oh yeah, so I didn't remember that, but look, I was right, I guess. Like, she's not evil, she's just stupid. I'm gonna have to watch Overlord. I don't really like Overlord because I don't like these types of animes where the main character is so overpowered that they get to win at everything. And the thing with Overlord is that I don't like animes where the bad guys are the protagonists, basically. I don't know if you can. Well, actually, yeah, the bad guys are definitely the protagonists, and he's definitely evil. And there's a lot of shades of gray. There's a lot of nuance to be had, but yeah, Overlord is not my main dish. I hate Made in the Abyss, but everyone watches it. I haven't watched it. I guess I should. A lot of people tell me to watch it, but I don't think I will. Overlord has good graphic. Yeah, I kind of guess it does. No, the thing with the Overlord is that all the characters are so fucking overpowered, and they're incredibly arrogant, and you want to see someone, you know, give them a dose of humble pie, but there's no one in that universe capable of delivering that dose. So you end up with all of these arrogant twats that get to do whatever they want, and I just no, I don't like it. Could be over. You know what? Fine, I'll go to sleep. Thank you guys for watching this. Really appreciate it, and hopefully I can find a good topic for tomorrow. And I'll see you guys in the comment section.